All right, well, here we go. Good evening and welcome to the October 13, 2020 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh.
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy. Information on remote access to the meeting was sent via email to the Suburban Trends, Daily Record, and Record newspapers, and posted on the bulletin board and front door of the municipal building and on the Township's website.
Thank you. Now, please join me in Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals for our nation.
Hey,
I
go ahead.
pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
flag
of the United States of America,
States of America,
to the republic, which
stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Please, everyone, remain standing after the prayer so we may have a moment of silence to honor Dave Holberg, who dedicated more than 35 years to serving our community. Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And we miss you, Dave. Rest in peace, buddy. All righty. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mrs. Russell?
Here.
Mayor Hurd?
I am here. Okay, for anyone that hasn't participated in one of our remote meetings, I'm going to ask Mr. Brewer to review the format of the meeting. Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor. As mentioned by Ms. Marsh, this meeting is being held virtually via Zoom with appropriate notice being given. Throughout the meeting, there are times identified on the agenda for public participation. If anyone wishes to participate, I ask that you raise your hand through the feature at the bottom of your screen. If you have any issues with that, you can also mention it in the chat function. I will check that. So those will come up at various times during the meeting, or should the mayor and council decide to open it for public comment. I note today that we do have a presentation on, so with the mayor and council's permission, and assuming any of the participants for that don't mind, when that comes up, I will promote them to be panelists and join us to be seen as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Next on the agenda is presentations. So we're going to be talking about Bullying Prevention Month. If you'd be able to bring those people aboard now. There we go. Hello, everybody.
Sorry,
how are you doing?
Hello there. I'm in my car. I apologize. I took my son to basketball practice, but
Oh, Mr. Hayes, I wasn't sure if you were like bugging out or, you know, in a cave somewhere, but you look good.
no, I'm like, man, wow, I don't have any lighting in this car.
Awfully dark there.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's excellent. Well, listen, you know, this is Anti-Bullying Month or Bullying Prevention Month, and you know, I was thinking about it the other day after we spoke, Mr. Hazler, and you know, back in our day, you would unfortunately get bullied in school, but you were able to go home and you were able to get away. You know, the one thing that this technology does for us and our kids, unfortunately, makes it available that 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Unfortunately, you can get bullied. Everything is put out online. You've got text messages, FaceTime, the whole 9 yards. And like I said before, when we were younger, we could get away from it. So I think more than ever, now is a time where we really need to focus on it and enable our kids, as well as everybody else, to have some downtime where we don't get bullying. It's not something that's accepted in our town. It's not something that's accepted in our family. And we have to figure out something to do about it. So with that said,
Yeah,
I'd like to
no,
give
you're
you guys. If you'd like to say anything, Mr. Hazler.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, thank you very much. Actually, Mr. Seborowski's on here somewhere, I think, and Mr. Leffler. They were coming to the meeting, but yeah, no, we've been doing this now for the last several years, partnering with the town council in terms of making a proclamation that October is National Bullying Prevention Month, but also in the Township of Pequannock, we acknowledge that we stand up against bullying, whether it's in person or virtual. Now that we're in a hybrid setting, it's very important that we are partnering with parents as we constantly monitor, what our children are doing. Having 2 children of my own, it's critically important that we're monitoring what they're doing on their school devices, but also on their personal devices, and teaching them as adults. We need to model what appropriate citizenship is, right? Whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or even through these Zoom meetings, it's practicing civility, it's practicing citizenship, digitally, and working with the kids on and understanding that you're creating your digital footprint that sticks with you. And the things that you search, the things that you say, the things that you text, it's permanent somewhere. And so it's just instilling good values in our kids and teaching them how to communicate appropriately. It's not always about content in school. It's also about good character. And that's been something that our district has excelled at from the elementary level all the way to the high school level. And so even now, in this schedule that we have, we're working hard at the elementary, middle, and high school levels to teach these kids, whether it's in school or virtual, how to behave appropriately. And we appreciate the support of the town council in this. It's always great to partner with you, and we appreciate what you do for our community. And the fact that we can work together on this is really great. So just thank you on behalf of the district. I don't know if Mr. Seborowski or Mr. Leffler wanted to add on to that, but thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Mr. Seborowski, would you like to say anything?
Thank you. No, Mr. Hazler, I think he covered everything. I would just like to thank the town council, our staff, our parents, our students, everyone working together. Because if we're not working together, we won't be able to accomplish the things that everyone has just been talking about the last few minutes. So again, I thank everyone for their support.
I want you guys to know that we really do appreciate you. It's been an interesting year with COVID, as well as we know that there's been a bunch of new job positions, between the superintendent and yourself, Mr. Hazler, and everybody else. But we really do appreciate all the leaders that are in the school system, as well as all the teachers and everybody. We do have an amazing school system. You guys are doing a great job. I know firsthand because I've got kids in the system still. And I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. So with that said, I have a proclamation to read here into the record. I have to use my glasses because, well, getting older. Here we go. Whereas bullying is physical, verbal, sexual, or emotional harm or intimidation intentionally directed at a person or group of people. And whereas bullying occurs in neighborhoods, playgrounds, schools, and through technology, such as the internet and cell phones. And whereas various researchers have conducted that bullying is the most common form of violence, affecting millions of American children and adolescents annually. And whereas thousands of children and adolescents are affected by bullying annually, and whereas targets of bullying are more likely to acquire physical, emotional, and learning problems, and students who are repeatedly bullied often fear such activities as riding the bus, going to school, and attending community activities. And whereas children who bully are at a greater risk of engaging in more serious violent behaviors, and whereas children who witness bullying often feel less secure, more fearful, and intimidated. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Township of Pequannock and its residents, myself and the members of Town Council, do I hereby proclaim October 2020 as Bullying Prevention Month in the Township of Pequannock, and schools, students, parents, recreation programs, religious institutions, and community organizations are encouraged to participate in a variety of bullying awareness and prevention activities throughout the month of October. So thank you very much, guys. Council, would you like to say anything? All right. Well, I really do appreciate. Oh, Melissa, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, I just want to echo what everyone said. We really appreciate everyone in town, and the school system's doing a great job. And I'm glad we can partner on things like this and recognize this and work together. So thank you.
Keep doing the great work,
Absolutely.
guys. You guys are doing great.
Thank you.
Same here.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you.
guys, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
everything that you're doing. Keep up the good work because we're seeing the results. So I really do appreciate everything that you, the staff, the teachers, everybody that has to do with Pequannock school systems are doing. So keep it up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Appreciate it, and keep up the great work yourself. During this time, it's important to have great leaders, and we appreciate what you do for the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
You
Take
too, guys.
care.
Good night,
Okay.
John. Good night,
Bye-bye.
Rich.
Bye, guys. Have a great night.
Have a good one. All right. So next, reports from volunteers at this time. If there are any reports or comments from any of the volunteers serving our community, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Mr. Brewer?
Just giving it a couple seconds, Mayor. No one has their hands raised.
Okay. So from there, we're going to go on to public comment again. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anybody wishes to address the council, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized and provide your name and address for the record. Again, back to Mr. Brewer.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see any hands raised at this time.
All right. Well, there'll be another opportunity at the end. Thank you. So, there being no additional public comments, or any comments at that matter, we will continue with the agenda. Next on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor. I always do my best to distance my public comments as far from Mr. Hazler's public comments as possible because he's just too darn good at it. So every time I try to speak, I don't want to be anywhere near Mr. Hazler. I have a few items in my written report. Kent Place Sewer Extension Project, which was awarded a couple of months ago, has essentially reached substantial completion. We're waiting for final paving, and then there will be probably a change order resolution for quantities and a couple other issues we're trying to work out, and final payment at the upcoming council meeting. On the agenda this evening, we have a resolution for the council's consideration to award the Pompton River desnagging project. So we were finally able to get some compliant bids that were within budget. As the council may recall, we went out to bid previously and received no bids. So we changed the perspective a little bit, went back out, and we did get a good bid that is recommended for award should the council see fit. Also scheduled for the council's consideration this evening is an outdoor dining resolution. If you read the previous resolution that allowed restaurants to provide additional outdoor dining, there was some comments about a 120-day period, and then there was some reference to the declared emergency by the governor, and through our discussions, it just seemed prudent to extend it for an additional 60 days in case there are any questions to make sure people understand that's something that's allowable. And I also just want to note that we're trying to communicate with people too that improvements that they made during this period are for this period. So if anyone wants to seek to permanently have these improvements part of their operation, they would have to come get approval from the appropriate land use board. As previously discussed, the fire safety buildings heat is up for discussion. That's scheduled for later this evening with some options for the council's consideration. And additionally, as directed in, I believe it was August, the meeting format is scheduled for discussion. And, you know, one item, as Councilwoman Florence Lynch mentioned earlier in the meeting, an additional moment of silence for Dave Holberg. I just want to say, for the benefit of everyone here and the public, you know, Dave was a friend of mine before I came to work here. So he was a colleague and someone I genuinely appreciated. We would have spirited discussions at times. And I think it made, I know it made me a better person and a better manager. I hope he would say the same. Unfortunately, he's not here for me to ask him. But my condolences, and it's a big loss for the community. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. I absolutely echo those sentiments. All righty. Next on the agenda is public hearings on ordinance number 2020-10. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2020-10 is an ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, and appropriating the sum of $398,200 for financing thereof.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marsh. Are there any comments from the council? Seeing none, is there a motion to open to public hearing?
I'll make that motion to open public hearing 2020-10.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. If anyone in the audience, here we go. If anyone in the audience has any questions or comments on this ordinance, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized and identify yourself for the record. Mr. Brewer?
Mr. Mayor, there are no hands raised.
Okay. So is there a motion to close to the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll
I
second it.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2020-10.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence
Yes.
Lynch? Mr.
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Yes. All right, moving on. There are no ordinances scheduled for introduction at this time. So next on the agenda is resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
Beginning with Resolution R 2020-202, authorizing release of deposits for construction in a township right-of-way. 2020-203, authorizing the adoption of the 2020 Morris County, New Jersey Hazard Mitigation Plan update. 2020-204, extending the policy allowing temporary outdoor seating for restaurants during the pandemic shutdown of retail and commercial businesses in the Township of Pequannock. R 2020-205, awarding a contract for the Pompton River desnagging project to Grade Construction for the total contract amount of $108,589.43 in accordance with the bid specifications. R 2020-206, authorizing a professional services agreement between the Township of Pequannock and Kennedy and Madonna LLP and its associated law firms. And R 2020-207, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the October 8th, 2020 bill list.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
I was just going to make a quick comment on three of the things. I was going to say I'm glad that you know, the update to the New Jersey hazard mitigation plan has been done. Great job on that. I thought that was done well. We obviously support our businesses, so we're happy to help with the temporary outdoor seating during this time. And then also the Pompton River desnagging project, that has been a long time coming. So I'm glad we were able to get some good bids. That was it.
Very good. Anyone else?
Adam, we got a grant for the desnagging?
There are two grants in existence that are several years old each. One is through Pompton Lakes, which was the original requesting agency, and the other is through Lincoln Park. So we have existing ordinances that cover the award for this, and we're hoping to get reimbursement through one or both of those grants. But they've both been around for a while. So right. I've been in contact with my counterparts in the respective communities to try to recover as much money as possible from those sources.
Can I make a recommendation that we apply now for next year's grant? Because I mean, I think that's something that we should be doing yearly and not let it go, right. You know, a year that we don't do it. I mean, I think if we keep up on it, I think it's going to be beneficial for everyone in the town. I don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The challenge is there aren't necessarily annual funding sources for the activity. But back to what Councilwoman Florence Lynch said, we do have the hazard mitigation plan, and one of the you have to, in order to make certain grant applications, you have to identify in that plan. So one of the activities is desnagging. So we're putting together a desnagging grant through the federal hazard mitigation program, which is different than the current grants we have. So we are going to have a grant going, and we're obviously going to keep our eyes peeled, in any opportunity to address getting water moving in the township of Pequannock, we're going to jump on.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Brewer, just to add on top of that, is there any specifications in the grant, either this one or the one going forward, about de-shoaling? So all of the material that has piled up around the bridge, let's say behind the Stop and Shop there?
De-shoaling is less common than de-snagging because it's got a higher, impact on the environment, or a perceived higher impact on the environment. So if there were something to come up, we would definitely explore it. The other challenge with de-shoaling is you take it away and then, over time it comes back. Right. So if anybody walks along the Pompton River now knows we've got some things that need to be addressed. So hopefully the de-snagging will address that, and we'll keep our eyes open for anything, beyond that, whether it be de-shoaling or planning or any other activities that we think could benefit the community.
Absolutely. Excellent. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. I actually just had one more on R 2020-204, extending the outdoor restaurant seating. So now if the outdoor seating is working well for a restaurant and they would like to keep it, what would the process be?
Depending upon the circumstances of what they've done, it may require an application to the planning board for a site plan amendment, or it could require a variance based on proximity to the boundaries or the manner in which they change the use of an area like a parking lot. It depends. So I would say that anyone who has a restaurant that has questions or concerns to reach out to the zoning office and have a conversation with Jill Hartman, the zoning officer, and she can assist in steering which direction and how. Often there's a trip to the Board of Adjustment for relief from ordinances could be cured by a couple small tweaks and make a much more simple process.
Beautiful. So basically, if they're interested, get on it now, start asking some questions, and start going down the process. Another thing, do we have, I know New York is allowing the sides to come down as well as heating within those tents per se. Do we have any of that defined as far as the outdoor seating and dining?
I don't believe we regulate how that's to be done. Our ordinance just permits something that otherwise would require a trip to the planning board. So
very good.
We'll let the fire ordinances and the state fire code regulate what that does and the various other aspects, but we're not controlling that as a municipal government.
Perfect. All right, that's all I have. Anybody else? Seeing none? Great. Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution R 2020-202 through R 2020-207.
I'll second it.
Excellent. Roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Yes. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is items for discussions. We have two: council meeting format and Henning House heating improvements. So, Mr. Brewer.
Just as mentioned during my report, when we last discussed the meeting format, the decision was made to schedule the matter for discussion at the first meeting in October, and it's now the first meeting in October. So
yeah.
I'll start if you want. I mean,
Mr. Cole.
My personal feeling is I think we should continue to do the Zoom meetings and push it back. And I hate to say it, but there's a good chance that we will not be meeting in person until 2021.
And I agree with Dave. I mean, if we're to be separated 6 feet apart or have partitions between us, that's crazy. It's not going to work.
Melissa?
I don't know if we could separate 6 feet apart. I mean, we moved down to the front. We're going to have to then push the audience back. There could be a limit number of people that we allow in the audience, so we could be doing an in-person plus Zoom meeting because I would believe it'd be 25% capacity. Is that what Inside is allowing right now, Mr. Brewer?
yes.
So, I mean, with us in there and then a few more people, I mean, we could be at the max of 25%. So we may have to do a Zoom and an in-person if we did go back. So I think we should just say, you know what, let's push it back another month and let's see. But I think we all need to understand that we may not be meeting until 2021.
Right. And Dave, if it's not broken, why try to fix it?
Well,
Right?
also based on, the latest developments, I mean, there is a big difference being inside versus being outside. And we do have to be careful. We have to, I don't know, a couple months back or a month back, I was ready to say, hey, let's try to, meet in person. But I I do agree, probably for the remainder of this year, or until there's a vaccine, who knows? But I'm okay with, I think it's probably going to be more responsible to meet this way for at least another month or so.
I'm going to be the lone dissenter here right now. I really think we ask our employees to go in. We have the library going. I went in there today. We can easily fit 4 up on the dais, 4 up in the front. There's enough seats there every 6-1. We don't, well, how often do we have 25 people in that building? Maybe 3 times a year. So obviously you guys are all looking the other way. I just think that if we ask all of the employees to come in and do their job and show up and be present, I think we owe it to ourselves and the people of Pequannock to do the same.
So Kyle, I'm going to say that then if that's the case, you need to install plexiglass between me and Dave and the township manager, and we all wear masks because I'm concerned about my safety and the safety of everybody in there. And on top of that, what about the air system we have in there? Is it the proper air system? I'm concerned for my health, to be honest with you.
I think if we're all 6 feet apart and wear a mask, I mean,
I'm going to go put a mask on right now. We're going to have a conversation and tell me how much you understand. I'll go get it.
But when someone's speaking, they can take it off. But for the most part,
no. You don't take it off when somebody's speaking.
I think we've done a good job with our employees with the separations of the plexiglass and the precautions that we can do for them. I think we even have separated a few of the employees, so they are further apart. I think it's going to be difficult for us, and believe me, I'd like to go back in person myself.
Me too.
I'd like to go back to work. I mean, I'm still working from home.
Like to be around people again. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So would I. But my gut feeling is to push it another month and then see. But I think we all need to understand that it may not be until 2021.
Right. And I like you said, I think the problem is our venue. There's no place to really socially distance correctly and have a regular meeting. That's the only reason I'm, agreeing. I think it's a little bit different with the employees. Like you said, we did a good job separating them. I don't think we're going to be able to do that easily.
Yeah, but I mean, employees drive together in trucks and they wear masks.
But at least they're outside. I mean, I think there's logistic issues up there, but you do make one good point. Actually, Rich made one good point, and I think I'm going to throw it over to Adam. Do we have any idea about the quality of the air system in that room? Do we have HEPA filters for that? I know we replaced it, but it wasn't even in our conscious back then when we were replacing it. So do you have any idea?
I'd have to look into it. I know there has been discussion or there are some guidelines about certain types of systems. I'm not sure what the requirements are, but I'd have to review it and find out. I don't know.
So if you could find that out, because I think either way, one of the logistic challenges of us getting back in that room is going to be the air quality, number one, as well as fitting people in there. And then not to mention if this thing comes back in the fall, that's going to be another issue. So I'm going to say for me, I'm for doing it the way that we're doing it for at least another month, possibly 2.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mike, I would love to have a rec center or something where we had a nice big open gym, or the old-fashioned elementary school thing where you had that stage in the gymnasium and you could put people on the stage to face it out. But my concern is just logistics. We'd have to figure out how to get people. The dais is only 27 feet long, so I'm probably a foot or more wide. There's a limited number of people you could get on the dais, so somehow we'd have to figure out how to space them if we were going to go back to being in that room.
All right. Well, there we go. So let's push it off another month, or do you guys want to push it off for 2 months? Rich, you're looking awesome. All right, we'll push it off another month and revisit at the end of November. This is November, December. Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see.
Yeah, I just want to confirm the clear direction when I'm rescheduling this for conversation, whether we want to do the first meeting in November, second meeting in November.
Second meeting in November is November 24th.
Yeah.
There you go.
I say we push it to that.
Yep,
Sounds
I
good.
agree.
I'm fine with that.
Number 24.
Next, heating improvements. Mr. Burr.
Apologize, I'm just making my notes. As a couple meetings ago, there was a resolution scheduled for the council's consideration to make certain improvements to the HVAC system at the Henning House. Just to review, the fire safety building, or the Henning House, has 5 staff members that work out of it as offices, 1 full-time person upstairs, and 4 full-time people downstairs. Council's direction was to come back with a few options. So just to review those in brief, one would be, and I thank staff, Mr. Seidlin from Public Works put a memo together that's included in the council's packet. But in summary, there are 3 articulated options. One is the lowest cost option for approximately $12,000. The old oil boiler that can't be serviced anymore can be swapped out for a gas boiler. We have converted it to be able to be use natural gas as opposed to oil. Window units can be used for air conditioning, and mini split could provide heat and air conditioning for the conference room or enclosed porch. Option 2, $43,540. The oil boiler can be replaced with forced air, heat, and air conditioning for the first floor. 2 mini splits to provide heat and air conditioning for the second floor, and 1 mini split again for the conference room and enclosed porch. The principal difference there would be the change from a boiler to a forced air system. And then option 3, which is the previously presented one, for $46,392. 2 gas-fired forced hot air heat and air conditioning units could be installed, and a dual zone could be taken to approach the building.
Got a question. Option 1 says that a mini split will provide heat and air conditioning for the conference room and enclosed porch. But on the memo, it says proposed work does not include a form of heat or air conditioning for the enclosed porch.
I apologize. That went back and forth. It does not include the mini split. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the 12,000 does not include heating or air conditioning for that porch on the
That was something under discussion, so I apologize that got revised in one section but not the other.
Any clue how much it would cost to add that on for that room?
Can't do it.
Yeah, because the price difference is so much, I was leaning towards that lower amount, but that was confusing to me as well, because it looked like it didn't include, I wasn't sure if it included the mini split for the conference room porch area. And then it talks about future maintenance and stuff like that. I think we really need to determine, is this going to be the long-term use here, or are we going to have a long-term use here? And
what are we doing with the building?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what?
What are we doing with the building?
Exactly.
If I could jump back in, it'd be about an additional $5,000 to add the mini split, so that $12,000 would turn into 17.
Which is
The
still
only issue, just to mention, is right now we're on borrowed time, so.
right.
The boiler is not really able to be serviced. We're using bungee cords and rubber bands and duct tape to make sure it's continuing to deliver.
Right,
Sounds
so
like my house.
Can I ask a question then? So if
Yes.
we add the mini split, is that going to put us over the $16,263, and then prevailing wage is going to have to kick in?
It might. If we go with one vendor, then yes. If we go with multiple vendors, then no. So without offending Mr. Oostdijk or any procurement regulations or requirements, we could explore a variety of ways to do that in an effort to get the best price.
All right. My other add-on to Melissa is, my gut feeling is, until we do something either with the DPW building or the town hall, this is going to be offices for employees.
Correct.
My gut feeling is we're not going to be doing anything with the municipal building in the near future, unfortunately. So, I mean, I would rather put something in there that's somewhat decent.
It's not a Band-Aid.
than a Band-Aid and have, 5 different vendors coming in. So we're not going over prevailing wage. I know we budgeted, and I don't want to say, yes, just because we budgeted, but how much did we budget for this?
I believe $48,000 was the capital appropriation.
Yeah, I think spending anywhere around 40,000 is just way too much for a building that we eventually don't know what we're going to do. We've spent so much money on that house. If we can get away with the 17,000, I could see that would give them their heat, and they can use the house with the mini split.
The mini split allows them.
Somebody mentioned to me that they don't even have a door. Do they have a door? Somebody said that. I didn't go look. That they only have a screen door or something.
Yeah, there's a glass door as well as like a glass storm door as well as a normal front door, like a house.
Okay.
They do have doors.
Oh, because they've got the commercial glass door on the front.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
I mean, do we think, go ahead.
I was leaning towards option 2, to try to get something in there that, is going to be cost saving on the utilities. I mean, and I say it again, I think we're going to be in that building for a while because we have no room for the employees now.
I agree with Dave. Absolutely.
Well, it looks like.
But 43,000, why not put it out to bid? 43,000 for heat in that tiny house? That's an awful lot of money.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards number 1 with the mini split of around 17K, because still we don't know what we're doing with that building. That's still going to take care of the problem at hand, which is heating and cooling. It'll be a little nicer to have forced hot air and cooling, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the day. So because we just don't know what's going on with the other buildings, I really don't want to spend any more money than we have to.
What is our electric bill? How much is
got-
an electric bill going to be with 5 window units and a split? And
It's only 3 months, and to make up $30,000, I can guarantee we got 10 years on electric on that
They're
one.
only using it per room. If they're not using the room, there's no reason to use the air conditioner.
And we have about 5 employees in there?
Correct. There are 4 part-timers downstairs and 1 full-timer upstairs.
If we think we can do it for the lower cost, I think I'm leaning that way. But I mean, if we really just think it's a Band-Aid and it's going to be a waste of money and it's going to cause, electric bills and everything else to go skyrocket, then, we need to discuss it more. But if we think
I don't think we can discuss it more. I mean,
right.
It'll either be
No, but I'm
done on
just
its
saying,
own,
right
or
here.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have it is a big difference. So, I mean, if we can do it for under, 20,000, then let's do it, but
Yeah, I'm leaning definitely towards that lower price. It's not like, you're replacing it with a gas-fired boiler. That's not a Band-Aid. You're replacing it with a new gas-fired boiler. So, the window units, whatever, the mini split, that's something that can be taken out. But this way, if you ever do an addition on that, if you add to it, if you're
I'm
going to
okay.
So it's a
Change
gas
things.
fire boiler using the existing radiators? Is that what it is?
Correct.
correct.
it's hot water baseboard.
Yep.
Is it, wait a minute. Is it
I say go
radiators
with-
or is it hot water baseboard?
Yes.
So long-term, we're going to be in that building for a while, just so that everybody understands that. I don't see us putting the money out to purchase it or to build a new town hall or whatever. So
Right.
remember, this is long-term. This is not short-term.
Right. And
Just to correct
the
something,
boiler
I
is
saw my note.
long-term.
It's steam. It's not.
So it's radiators.
It's radiator steam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I
I
apologize.
had radiators in my first house. I mean,
So the first one is radiators. The second one is going
Hot air.
hot air. Okay. None of them are baseboard?
No.
Okay.
Because it's the existing piping. The existing plumbing.
A steam radiator can eventually be converted to baseboard.
correct, at a fee.
Well, then we
Down
get
the
into
road.
the conversation of,
But for now, it would work. If it's something we want to do in the future, you could always change that over.
Well,
Basically,
we also get in the conversation of the quality of the house and, you know, steam versus forced hot and cooling, and how much are we going to be wasting just because the house doesn't have great insulation. I mean, it's an old house too.
Yeah, I'm
So
afraid.
all of those things have to be put together.
Well, that's what I'm worried about,
radiators
if
are
we
actually
spend
the
too
most
much.
efficient form of heating that there is.
I don't know. I still think I'd go with the lower cost proposal, because I am afraid once we get into this, we're going to end up spending all this money. We're going to have to do other stuff later down the line anyway. I don't know.
The other thing too is we could also push the split system off and just do the 12,000 for the boiler now, because if there's 3 temporary employees and 1 full-time, I'm sure the full-time is not hanging out on that back porch because it's only a 3-season porch.
Yeah, it is open to what used to be the kitchen. So you don't want to have a situation where, you know, I think everybody's been involved in a house or a building before, where you have one area that's HVAC, you know, running to comfortable temperatures, and then
So there's no.
So you're going to have
no
a vacuum
there.
and it's just going to get sucked in back and forth. So, you know, even if it's not occupied.
We can do the boiler now just to get through, and then we can address it in the summer, what we want to add to it.
Well, what he's saying is, so they've, after the remodel, I forgot about that with the kitchen at the back. There used to be a door,
right.
and it used to go out to the 3-season porch. Now it's just one open space. So,
I'm at option 2, but
all right, let's take a straw poll. Dave, you're for option 2.
yeah.
Rich.
Option 2.
All right. Kyle.
Option 1.
Melissa.
All I can say is if we can do option 1 efficiently, like, then go with option 1. But.
All right. And sorry, Mayor, you didn't cast your.
I am still leaning towards the option 1 because of the unknowns on the what we're doing with the building. Plus, we only have 3 part-time employees, 1 full-time. Even when we start getting more full-time employees in there, yeah, we still have some other priorities that we have to take care of. So I am for option 1.
Do you have anything to add?
Well, is there strong objection to doing the mini split? Because, you know, now we're under thresholds and technically we could move forward with that, but I just don't want to do that without talking to the council. I just think it makes more sense from an efficiency perspective.
Yes.
Money up front, not have all the heat getting sucked onto the porch.
Yeah. No, I'd say yeah.
Around $17K for the boiler and the mini split. I am good for that.
So that's going to be electric heat on the porch.
Correct. But you don't have to set it to 80. You know, my point is I don't want to have the porch. It's a porch. So I don't have the porch at 30 degrees and the rest of the house is set at, you know, 75. The rest of the house at 65.
So the kitchen is open to the 3-season porch?
Correct.
Why don't we just put a door in?
We can. But it's not going to be an insulated interior-exterior door.
And again, it goes back to the age of the house, and no matter what system we put in, we're just pushing more cash out there. So
right. Adam, you think we could do this efficiently with the first version?
Yes, I do.
All right.
there you go.
Again, with the mini split, you know, unless there's objection, I'd like to.
Yeah, no, with the mini split.
All right.
Okay.
Moving on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so there are no reports and notices. Next on the agenda, council reports and announcements. So, Melissa, we're going to start with you.
All right, just a couple of quick things. The Flood Control Advisory Committee met on October 8th. Jennifer, our flood resilience officer, went over her monthly report just to give you a couple of highlights. As you know, the township started with the award of the 2015 elevation grant for 26 homes. 16 of those homes are complete from that round. That grant extension goes until October 30th of next year. 23 homes were in the 2016 grant, and there's 13 completed to date. We're awaiting, so that's 29 homes that we've completed. The 2019 grant application, that one, well, we're waiting for FEMA to release the funds from the 2018 grant, where there were already 15 homes approved. So it's another 15 on top of the 29 that I just talked about. And then the 2019 grant application, that had 16 homes in it. FEMA approved that application and we're still waiting for the congressional funding. As far as the 2020 application, we took a smaller group approach and where they're still working on the benefit cost analysis on the applications that were received for that. We're finalizing the revisions to the phone app, and then they'll go for approval from Apple and, you know, to be able to move forward with the phone app. We obviously did the Morris County Hazard Mitigation Plan update. That was tonight. We talked about that. That was on our agenda, and the de-snagging. So no more on the flood committee. Our next meeting for that is November 12th. The Economic Development Committee, that next meeting will be Wednesday, October 28th. And I also just wanted to mention our friend Dave Holberg. You know, we're all saddened by the loss of Dave. He was a great role model. He was a great leader, you know, and look at all he accomplished, you know. I mean, he was not only had risen to CFO and the township manager, he was a chief of Fire Company 1. I mean, he really has had a long-standing career, and was a great guy, and we're all gonna miss him, and we're never gonna forget him. So.
And Melissa, he was a friend of ours.
Yes, he was. That's what I said. Yep. It's a shame.
Sure is.
That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Cole.
We will all miss Dave. Great guy. And I learned a lot from Dave. You know, I was a newbie 8 years ago, and you know, I definitely learned a lot from Dave. So, but the last meeting, I was away. I took the meeting in Maine, but I missed some of the first aid squad announcements that they had. So some of this stuff is old, but I just want to make sure we get it out there. Nafi Chadhari, he received the First Aid Squad Scholarship Award in June.
Right.
For the 6 months of March 1st to August 31st, Dave Stapp had 588 hours. Elaine Stapp had 522. Jen Zukowski had 532. Tom Lyons had 463. Allison Kane had 452. Harold Johnson had 446 hours. Diane Kopp, 439. Tim Stapp, 414. And Ivan Bajowski, 410. I probably said that last name wrong, but also from March 1st until August 31st, 2020, the squad went out on 344 calls. And then I had the meeting just last night. For the month of September, the squad had 52 calls. They are still, you know, following COVID procedures with the protective equipment that they wear every call. So, you know, it's a great asset to the town. And you know, they're doing a fantastic job during these difficult times. So just like to say, you know, thank you to all of them for all of their hard work and dedication to the community of Pequannock Township. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Phelan.
I don't have a lot to report. Actually, I have nothing to report. Because of a certain health condition, I've been avoiding crowds of people. Myself, I've been in Vermont almost every weekend now. Hopefully, as things quiet down a little bit more, I'll be able to attend more meetings. But at this present time, I have to avoid groups of people.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councilwoman.
I don't have anything to report. I just want to say, like everybody else, I'm very sorry about Dave Holberg. I wasn't fortunate enough to work under him on council. He left when I came on. But I did get a chance to know him a bit after the fact, and I really liked him and appreciated him, and he will be missed by all. Thank you.
Thank you. I am obviously going to echo everything that everybody had said about Mr. Holberg. I also was a newbie 4 years ago, and he kind of took me under his wing. He taught me a lot, kept me out of trouble, most importantly. I do appreciate that. I was always amazed at how Dave could be so reserved and choose his words so well when somebody was yelling at him. And I wish I had that ability. So thank you, Mr. Holberg, for everything that you've done for this town, community, and everybody you know misses you and loves you. So with that said, I do have a few things. I'd like to thank the Pequannock Historical Society because they cleaned out the chicken coop at the Martinbury House. Granted, chickens haven't been there in about 50 years, but there was a lot of stuff there they had to clean out, so they did a great job there. I also want to thank PAC 144 and the American Legion 242. We had a flag retirement over at Greenview Park. PAC 144 also is painting all the fire hydrants throughout the town. I think there's 625, if I'm not correct. And the Murphys, I have to do a shout out for them. They keep on having these Boy Scouts go through. They're doing a great job. They've been doing it for years. And, you know, we're one of the towns with the most Eagle Scouts that graduate through the program. And it really is because of them. So thank you very much for everything they're doing. Again, I want to thank Rich Hazler for stopping by. And this is anti-bullying month of October. Don't forget that there is the hoedown this weekend coming up. And finally, it was something interesting is one thing that we don't realize, especially the kids, I've got 3 young kids, you don't realize how much history is literally right underneath our feet here in Pequannock. When you think history, kids generally think Morristown and whatnot, but Pequannock literally was the corner of everything back then. That's why they called this the King's Highway, which is near Compton Turnpike. And just to prove that, the guys were out this weekend with American Legion 242 to raise money for them. And somebody found a 1797 silver coin right here in Pequannock at the horse farm down by the end of the turnpike. Now, why that's important is obviously it's really old, but number 2, they started minting coins. I might get this wrong, but somewhere around 1793. So that's a very early coin. And some of the people actually also picked up some French coins as well as a Civil War buckle. So it is amazing how much history which is right here in this town, or how much history that has gone through this town. So that's something I would like to get out there a little bit more with our kids once we go back to some kind of semi-normal. Alrighty, moving on.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
That reminded me, wasn't Joe Jorgensen going to do some digging back by the, whatever happened with that?
Yeah, so Joe was actually heading up the dig that was in the town this past weekend where they found the coin and a bunch of other things. They are still doing it. They pushed it to the springtime, and it's going to be over by the ball field behind the library.
That's where he had asked permission.
To PV, yeah. And I'm actually really excited because I was talking to him at length about it. And it's a very interesting place because that used to be the dump for a bar that used to be there that went back to the 1700s. So we were talking about how it was trash back then, and now we're looking into it and we're understanding their lifestyle and whatnot. So then I wonder what 100 or 200 years from now, when they see all of our iPhones in the trash, what they're going to think about us. So
It was
going to be
amazing.
interesting.
People were out there with their binders.
Yeah, even up on Saturday was over on Turnpike, as well as the church, and then Sunday was over on Mountain, which was really interesting, and they found a couple of things there. So amazing how much history is here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to his dig at the by the library.
I'd love to get them more involved with the kids and do a couple other things and kind of really integrate a whole bunch of things in town, because we've got a bunch of great assets, especially with the rail trail coming. So between the rail trail, Martinbury House, the train station, hiking on Mountainside Park, you know, figure out a way to really get everything together. Maybe a huge map or something. I don't know. Anyway, next, public comment. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anybody wishes to address the council, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized and provide your name and address for the record. Mr. Brewer.
Mayor, there are no hands raised at this time.
Minutes for approval. Next on the agenda is closed session discussion. Mr. Ustek, will you please explain the procedure for holding the closed session?
Certainly, Mayor. This would be the time in our meeting when, if we were meeting in person, we would ask the public to leave attendance at our meeting so that we could go into executive session for the purpose of discussing matters that are confidential. So at this time, we're going to request that any members of the public leave this meeting, and we will reconvene in executive session. Thank you.
Mr. Ustek, no additional action is anticipated or scheduled following.
None is anticipated or scheduled. It will happen.
So I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second.
And
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think Ryan is frozen up there.
it's frozen. Oh, and he's gone.
All right, so as of 7:56 p.m., we will adjourn to closed session.
I would imagine.
Back in.
Open.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's go back. All right, we're back in public session. Mr. Ustek.
Thank you, Mayor. In closed session tonight, the manager updated the council on issues involving township property and the use thereof, and the council heard from the manager and took his advice.
Thank you. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned at 8:06 p.m. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Nice
night.
seeing you all. Good night.
Thank you all.